Welcome to Life in Words. Today we learn English with the amazing story of one of the most powerful and mysterious women in history, Cleopatra, the last queen of ancient Egypt. Sit back, listen carefully, and let the rhythm of English take you on a journey of love, war, and power. This is not just history. This is a story about courage, beauty, intelligence, and destiny. In the golden sands of ancient Egypt, under the burning sun, and beside the slow-moving Nile River, there once lived a queen whose name would be remembered for thousands of years. Her name was Cleopatra. Cleopatra was not just a queen. She was a legend, a symbol of beauty and wisdom, a woman who ruled a great kingdom and faced the mighty Roman Empire. Her life was full of drama, love, betrayal, war, and tragedy. But through it all, she never stopped fighting for her people and for her place in history. She was born in 69 BC in the city of Alexandria, a beautiful place full of books, science, and art. Cleopatra came from a powerful Greek family called the Ptolemies, who had ruled Egypt for nearly 300 years. Although she was queen of Egypt, Cleopatra was not Egyptian by blood. She was Greek. But her heart belonged to Egypt. From a young age, Cleopatra showed signs of greatness. While other children played, she studied. She learned to speak many languages: Greek, Latin, Arabic, Hebrew, and even the language of the ancient Egyptians. She read books on science, philosophy, and politics. She listened to the wise teachers of the great library of Alexandria. And most importantly, she learned how to rule. Her father, King Ptolemy XII, trusted her deeply. He saw her sharp mind and strong will. Before he died, he named her co-ruler with her younger brother Ptolemy XIII. But things in the royal palace were not peaceful. Cleopatra was only 18 years old when she became queen. Her brother was just 10. At first, they ruled together. But soon, the boy's advisors turned against Cleopatra. They didn't like that she was smart, confident, and powerful, so they pushed her out of the palace and forced her to run away. But Cleopatra was not someone who gave up easily. She traveled to the desert, she built an army, and she waited for the right moment to return. That moment came with the arrival of a Roman general. His name was Julius Caesar, one of the most powerful men in the world. Rome was the greatest empire at that time, and Caesar had come to Egypt to stop the fighting between Cleopatra and her brother. He wanted peace in a land that was important to Rome. Cleopatra saw her chance. One dark night she made a plan. She couldn't just walk into the palace. It was full of her enemies. So, she had her servant wrap her in a rug, a beautiful Egyptian carpet. Then, they carried the rug into the palace as a gift. When Julius Caesar opened the rug, Cleopatra rolled out. There she was, young, beautiful, brave, and full of charm. Caesar was shocked, but he was also impressed. Cleopatra knew how to make an entrance. They talked for hours. She spoke with wisdom and confidence. She explained her love for Egypt, her dreams for the future, and her wish to rule in peace. Caesar listened, and he believed in her. Soon after, Caesar helped Cleopatra win back her throne. A war broke out between her army and her brother's forces. After months of fighting, Ptolemy XIII was defeated and died. Cleopatra became queen once again, this time with a new younger brother, Ptolemy XIV, as co-ruler. But everyone knew Cleopatra was the true leader. And now she was more powerful than ever. Her relationship with Julius Caesar grew stronger. They became lovers. They shared ideas, stories, and dreams. She gave birth to his son, whom she named Caesarion. little Caesar. With Caesar by her side, Cleopatra felt unstoppable. She traveled to Rome to visit him. She lived in a beautiful house outside the city. The people of Rome were curious. Who was this woman who spoke like a scholar, looked like a goddess, and walked like a queen? But not everyone was happy. Some Roman leaders feared Cleopatra's influence. They believed Caesar wanted to become a king, and that Cleopatra was helping him. In 44 BC, a terrible thing happened. Julius Caesar was killed, stabbed by his own friends in the Senate. Cleopatra was heartbroken. Her protector, her lover, the father of her son, was gone. She returned to Egypt in silence, her heart filled with sadness. But once again, Cleopatra did not give up. She ruled with strength and continued to protect her kingdom. She made sure her people had food. She built great temples and supported the arts. Egypt was alive because Cleopatra would not let it fall. But trouble was coming. After Caesar's death, Rome fell into chaos. Many men wanted to take power. Two of the most important were Mark Antony and Octavian. Mark Antony was a brave and bold general. He had fought many battles and was loyal to Caesar. When he called Cleopatra to meet him, she did not come quietly. No, Cleopatra arrived like a goddess. She sailed up the Nile in a golden boat with purple sails and silver oars. Musicians played soft music. Perfume filled the air. Cleopatra sat under a golden canopy, dressed like the goddess Isis. Mark Antony was enchanted. He fell in love with her beauty, her voice, and her mind. Cleopatra gave him her heart, and he gave her his trust. Together, they ruled the eastern part of the Roman world. They lived in luxury in Alexandria. They drank, laughed, danced, and dreamed of a future where their children would rule the world. But back in Rome, Octavian watched with anger. He was Caesar's adopted son, and he wanted all the power. He saw Cleopatra as a threat. He told the Roman people that she was dangerous, that she had used her beauty to control Mark Antony, that she wanted to take Rome. And so, war began. The Roman army, led by Octavian, marched toward Egypt. Mark Antony and Cleopatra prepared for battle. They met Octavian's forces at the sea in the Battle of Actium. It was a disaster. Cleopatra's ships were defeated. Antony's army was broken. They returned to Egypt, defeated and desperate. Mark Antony was full of pain. He had lost everything, and when he heard a false report that Cleopatra had died, he was destroyed. In sorrow, he took his own life. But the report was a lie. Cleopatra was alive. When she found Antony dying, she held him in her arms. They spoke their last words, and he died in her arms, the man she had loved, lost forever. Now, Cleopatra was alone. Octavian entered Alexandria. He wanted to take her to Rome in chains. He wanted to show the people that the great queen had been defeated. But Cleopatra had one last choice to make. She dressed in her finest clothes. She sat on her golden throne. She looked around her palace, her kingdom, her memories, her dreams. And then she chose death over disgrace. Some say she used a deadly snake, an asp, to bite her arm. Others believe she drank poison. No one knows for sure. But on that day, the last queen of Egypt died with her crown on. Cleopatra was only 39 years old. Her son, Caesarion, was killed by Octavian soon after. Egypt became a Roman province. The time of the pharaohs was over. But the legend of Cleopatra had just begun. For thousands of years, her story has been told in books, plays, poems, and films. Some remember her as a beauty, others remember her as a fighter. But above all, Cleopatra was a woman who dared to dream, a queen who stood against empires, a leader who never gave up. She used her mind like a sword. She ruled with grace and fire. And even in death, she made history. So what can we learn from Cleopatra? We learn that power is not just in armies. It is in intelligence, in strategy, and in the courage to stand tall when the world stands against you. We learn that love can give us strength, but it can also break us. And most of all, we learn that true greatness is remembered not for how long you live, but for how boldly you live. Thank you for listening to this powerful story of Cleopatra. We hope you learned something new, not just about English, but about life, love, and leadership. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to listen again. Practice the words, feel the rhythm. Let English become a part of your voice. Until next time, stay curious and keep learning here on Life in Words.